Welcome to one part of a webinar providing context on Arlington's strategic plan to end homelessness prior to Arlington's community input sessions in February and March. My name is Elise Tapazian, and I am a systems improvement advisor with Built for Zero. I work in partnership with Arlington on their work to end homelessness. So we have a few goals for our session today. First, I'll overview Arlington's progress to ending homelessness to date. I'll introduce Built for Zero and Arlington's partnership with us. We'll review definitions to understand what it means to end homelessness for all populations. And finally, I'll provide some information about where you can go to access more resources or ask questions. So let's start with some context. Arlington's goal is to end homelessness for all by 2026. And this goal didn't come out of nowhere. In 2015, Arlington ended veteran homelessness and is sustaining an end to veteran homelessness today. There has been a 66% reduction in homelessness over 12 years in Arlington, a 52% reduction in sheltered homelessness, a 90% reduction in unsheltered homelessness, and in 2022, Arlington COC worked with 1,070 people. Arlington is also on the brink of ending chronic homelessness. So what has the path to these accomplishments and the goal of ending homelessness for all by 2026? Arlington is working in partnership with Built for Zero, an international movement of more than 100 communities working to measurably and equitably end homelessness. Arlington is one of only 4 communities to embark on the Path to Zero process to end homelessness across all populations, and they are one of only 14 communities in Built for Zero to reach functional zero for veterans. Arlington also adapts to change and is able to scale new projects and processes quickly and effectively. So what does it mean for Arlington to end homelessness in practice? Built for Zero uses functional zero as a way to measure that a community has functionally ended homelessness. It is a way to demonstrate that homelessness in your community is rare, brief, and non-recurring, and it's a critical milestone on the way to the ultimate goal of no one becoming homeless. Functional zero is not a literal end to homelessness, meaning that no one ever experiences homelessness. The functional zero threshold is unique to every community and subpopulation, but for each population, it's a pretty simple equation. The number of actively homeless individuals must be less than or equal to the average monthly rate at which households achieve stable housing. So in Arlington, the functional zero number for single adults is 7. For youth, it is 3, and for families, it's also 3. There are also some systems outcomes and quality data measures a community must meet in order to reach functional zero, and I'll review the definitions for these now. Before I do, the definitions for systems outcomes and quality data are not made up by Built for Zero alone. From December 2020 to now, a group of invested communities have been co-designing what the definition and goals to credibly achieve functional zero homelessness should look like. So in order for a community to achieve functional zero across all populations, they must meet these additional indicators to ensure that homelessness is rare, brief, and non-recurring for all households. So the community has to demonstrate that homelessness is rare, meaning that they have met and sustained functional zero measures for youth, families, and single adults. Brief means that individuals spend 45 days or less on average on your community's active by name list. And non-recurring means that no more than 5% of positive exits result in a return to the homelessness system within 2 years of exit. So the by name list is your data set. It is a comprehensive list of every person in Arlington experiencing homelessness. It is your community's way of tracking the number of people experiencing homelessness on a real-time basis. And these are the individuals eligible for inclusion on your by name list. For single adults, sheltered and unsheltered, as well as unsafe households are eligible. And for youth and families, sheltered, unsheltered, unsafe, and unstable households are eligible for inclusion. So let's get into the definitions of unsafe and unstably housed. Unsafe includes individuals or households who are fleeing or attempting to flee their housing or the place that they are staying due to violence, perceived threat of violence, or other dangerous or life-threatening conditions related to violence that have taken place in the housing or the place they are staying, or that makes the individual or household fleeing afraid to return there. And these violent, dangerous, life-threatening, or fear-inducing circumstances include what is listed in the screen, but is not limited to the following: domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, stalking, trading sex for housing, trafficking, physical abuse, or other violence or perceived threats of violence. Unstable includes individuals and households who are reasonably expected to lose their primary or current residence imminently or at any moment, and are reasonably expected to be unable to access housing that would count as a positive exit upon loss of their primary or current residence due to any of these: mental health or physical conditions, being the primary caretaker of someone else in the household with mental or physical conditions, systemic barriers, or lack of support system or resources. And note that anything you see in red indicate areas where your community decides what this looks like. A positive exit is an individual or household who has moved into a residence in which they are named in the lease or deed, or moved into a residence that they choose and in which they expect to be able to remain indefinitely. And finally, credibility is key to achieving functional zero. And credibility really gets at, do people in the community believe that you've achieved functional zero homelessness? So can people outside the homelessness response system believe this is true? And this means regularly ensuring your data is transparent and credible to homelessness system stakeholders, adjacent or inflow system stakeholders, people with current and recent lived experience of homelessness, elected officials, advocates, and the general public. And it means ensuring that the systems change work, policy creation, and strategic decision-making related to system accessibility is driven by people from groups that are under accessing your system. So in order to reach an end to homelessness across all populations, your community must also meet a couple of race equity system indicators. And Built for Zero has 4 indicators of a racially equitable homelessness system. First is system decision-making power, which means that Black, Indigenous, and people of color at all levels of the homelessness response system have decision-making power to influence the design of the system. Second is lived experience, meaning that BIPOC receiving services from the homeless system have experiences that preserve their dignity and have their needs met in a timely manner. Third is quality data. All people experiencing homelessness have access to the system and are known by name in real time. And your community accurately collects data around race and ethnicity. And finally, our system outcomes, meaning that you close all racial and ethnic disproportionality in housing placements, returns to homelessness, and the average length of time from identification to housing by improving outcomes for BIPOC who experience homelessness. So Arlington COC is hosting community input sessions throughout February and March of 2023 that will include opportunities to look at baseline data regarding the number of individuals and families served in Arlington in November 2022. During those sessions, you have the opportunity to provide input on a few things. First, the COC wants to hear your insight into milestone goals for these subpopulations in the homelessness system. You'll participate in an exercise to set goals for where actively homeless targets should be every 6 months if Arlington is going to reach their functional zero goals by 2026. The second thing you'll do during the community input sessions is provide input into how Arlington will achieve those population milestone and functional zero goals. So you'll develop SMARTY goals to outline how Arlington will see reductions in homelessness over 6-month increments. Each of these milestone goal-setting activities will occur on separate dates for each subpopulation. So please register now for the community input sessions in Arlington. The dates for each session are on the screen, and all sessions are in person outside of that March 10th session, which is a virtual session for those who aren't able to attend other in-person sessions. Thank you so much for viewing this presentation on Arlington's Path to Zero and their partnership with Built for Zero. You can check out these materials and more on Built for Zero's Communications Hub, and the link to that is on the screen. And please feel free to reach out to myself or Trina Van, Arlington's Homelessness Services Coordinator, if you have questions about any of this content or the upcoming community input sessions.